Good morning and welcome to Mental Health Matters Office Hours. This is the show where we unpack all things mental health and well-being in the workplace. We have got a brilliant guest today. Well, we always have brilliant guests, but this guy, Dr. John O'Brien, has won the judge's pick of the Firebird Book Awards in Ohio from Speak Up Talk Radio. And his book is called Rudeness Rehab, and I cannot wait to dive into that. So let's head over to the studio. Dr. John, it is such a pleasure to chat with you. I cannot wait for this interview because your book, Rudeness Rehab, has just won the judge's pick of the Firebird Book Awards. And if you don't mind, I'm going to invite you straight away to give us an extract from your book, please.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me, Dr. Audrey. Really happy to be here. So I'm going to start by reading from the first chapter of the book, which is about an interesting job interview that I experienced. What a loser. Why are we even interviewing this guy? I know. What a waste of time. A third chimed in. Do we even bother continuing? My jaw dropped as I overheard this exchange. They were talking about me. Me. I was a waste of time.
Oh, my word.
That day, many years ago, I was interviewing for a teaching job at a local university. During a short break, I walked into the men's room. Upon seeing that the three male faculty members of the interviewing committee were all at the urinals, I had gone into the stall. They had not seen me.
Oh, my God.
Rude. The words waste of time rang in my ears and my blood started to boil. Should I walk out of the stall, confront them, and stop the interview process there? I uttered a few expletives in my head, and I felt a combination of shame and anger. Who did they think they were? One of these faculty members had lost his license to practice for unethical behavior. The other smelled like a distillery, clearly indicating that he had an issue with alcohol. My judgmental thinking kicked in, and I wanted to tell them exactly what I thought of each of them. Would I bail? I decided that I would still have the chance to change their minds, and I would show them I was the right choice for the position in my concluding talk. Back in front of the interviewing committee, which included other faculty members and students, I began to give my presentation. But I couldn't get through most of the material. The faculty members, smelling like a distillery, peppered me with questions, challenging everything I said, and disagreeing with me vehemently. After the talk, he came up to me to inform me that I had, quote, poor classroom management skills in not setting better limits with him. I was stunned, and now I felt like I was interacting in Alice in Wonderland with the Mad Hatter. After the final round of interviews, I got a call. The voice on the other end told me something I'll never forget. You don't have what it takes to teach, John. You should rethink your career. He continued in that vein until he paused and asked me, I don't know if you have any questions or if you want to hear more. I replied with the following. Dr. Smith, not his real name, I'm very grateful for your time. The purpose of this phone call was to learn if I was being considered for the position, and that's been accomplished. I have a very different experience of my ability as an instructor, but I have no need to hear anything else from you. Thank you for your time. Meanwhile, I was thinking something along the lines of, you can take a long walk off a short pier. After the call, I sat perplexed and had to reach out to my support system. When I told them what had happened, they were stunned and angry. Better you didn't get hired there. Phew. And that was the first and last time I experienced incivility in my life. End of story. Not.
Oh my gosh. Our jaws were on the ground. It's the audacity of not only being so rude and not recognizing the issues of themselves, but almost the goading to then tell you, oh, you didn't handle that very well.
That was the worst bit for me.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
Outrageous. Oh my goodness. Well, Dr. John, I can see why that book, your book, Rudeness Rehab, has won the judge's pick. I'm sure so many of the judges were sitting there going, I've experienced this, I've seen this, what can we do about this? So what are the key messages of Rudeness Rehab that you want us to recognize?
Well, I think first, just what incivility and rudeness are, how these are behaviors that are very much integrated into our lives, that we can all engage in them. I mean, I'm giving examples of these faculty members, but, and we'll certainly talk about this, that any of us, myself included, can be rude and uncivil when we don't mean to be. So that it's a very human experience. Second, that it's so much integrated into our society and our interactions. But unlike bullying, which I think many people do recognize the negative impact of that, but unlike bullying, rudeness and incivility, I think, are seemingly inconsequential behaviors, but they have very profound and potentially negative impacts on our health, emotionally and physically, which I'm sure that we'll talk about. And then finally, I try to demonstrate to people that there are skills that they can use to manage their own urges to be rude, or when they confront situations like I did on that job interview.
You are absorbing a lot of negativity when it comes to dealing with rude or incivil behaviour. And actually, just on that, if you don't mind me asking, there is a difference between rudeness and incivility. Do you mind explaining what that difference is, please?
Oh, well, actually, I'll tell you, the way that I think about it is that there's sort of two sides of the same coin.
Right.
That I think people think about incivility in terms of the roots of, the root of civility is about being a good citizen. So I think that people think about civility in terms of interactions with others, in professional environments, perhaps. But rudeness and incivility really, to me, all encompass very much the same thing, that we can be rude and uncivil to others, and we can also be rude and uncivil to ourselves.
Oh, I like that. That incivility being the root of actually what the opposite of what we need to be doing for ourselves and our place in the community. And I guess in a way, rudeness then comes out as the manifestation of that incivil, perhaps, thought or behaviour. And just on that, your book is not just about professional behaviour, but it covers our personal behaviour too. Why is that professional, personal connection so important to recognise?
Well, I think, it's not like we become different people when we are in our work lives or our personal lives. Obviously our language shifts, and our behavior, hopefully is professional in, the work environment. It may be a little bit less professional sometimes when we're with our friends, but in essence, we're the same people.
Yeah.
And what we do in our work lives and our personal lives all influences how we think and feel about ourselves. So I advise people I coach and work with to always start every day with two questions. Who do you want to be, and what's really important? And to keep those two questions in mind as you move through your day. And then sometimes even at the end of the day to think about, how well did I do with those things, and what can, if I wasn't on the mark as much, how can I learn from what happened and be different?
Fantastic. Yeah, they can kind of shape your whole day, those two questions.
Yes.
So, going back to rudeness, what do you think causes rudeness in the first place?
Well, many things. I don't know about specific statistics for the UK, but I can tell you that certainly generally worldwide overall, and certainly what we see in the United States, is that people are experiencing some of the highest stress levels ever recorded.
Yes.
Rudeness is both a cause of, stress is both a cause of rude behavior as well as an effect of rude behavior. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. So stress is a huge cause of rudeness. People are very disconnected and lonely. And the societal mechanisms that used to bring people together, specifically like church communities, so social organizations, the membership in those groups is declining.
Yeah.
And that, I think, disconnection leads people to be more focused on interacting online, which is another component, I think, is social media, and how easy it is when you are behind the curtain of some sort of screen name to be rude to other people, and how social media has just become that type of environment. I think our media and how media tries to activate people, certainly in the United States we have this, in one direction or another, and shape people's beliefs and get people wound up. And then finally there's politics. And there's an interesting book by Peter Coleman, which is about politics and the divisiveness that people are experiencing in our country, but other countries certainly. And he talks about conflict entrepreneurs. People who are politicians who enjoy getting people wound up and saying very extreme things that people will believe. So those are some of the major factors I see that are contributing to the rudeness.
Oh, wow, so interesting.
Entrepreneurs, I love that, because I never had a word for it, but I can see it. I see that behaviour.
Yeah, yes, and we see it more and more and more. So interesting. So do you think then we're becoming desensitized and then just doing it ourselves, or is there hope for us to turn things around?
Well, of course I wouldn't believe that there's hope. Right? That's why I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a psychologist. Change is possible.
Yeah, of course.
But you know the old joke, how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb?
Yes.
Just one, but the light bulb has to want to change. But it's true. Like, people have to want to change their behavior and see that it's really important to do so. And I think also understanding that the importance of beginning with ourselves when it comes to the change process, that we have no power to do anything about anybody else, but just our own behavior.
Yes, absolutely. Dr. John, you're staying with us. We're going to be back just after this.
How to process your emotions in a nutshell. First of all, when something gets triggered in you, when you feel those uncomfortable emotions, don't suppress it. Stay with them. How to stay with those emotions? They might be painful, they might be uncomfortable, but how about you be curious? Curious about your emotions, curious about your sensations, feelings, and thoughts. You try to name it, so you can say, I feel sad. You can do it aloud or in your mind, just name it. Or guess, however you feel, just say, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I feel this or that. This person triggered me and this is how I feel. It's okay to feel the way you feel, totally okay. The most important thing is that you name it and you recognize that this emotion is there. Then you feel it. You allow yourself to feel that emotion. You can even intensify it in your body. And then locate it. So locate it wherever it is. Is it in your stomach? Is it in your heart? Is it in your mind? Make sure that you name it, feel it and locate it, and then kind of acknowledge it and notice it. Be gentle with it, be curious, and then the emotion will pass, because emotions, funny enough, last only 90 seconds. After that is your thoughts that keep them going. So how about today you're going to be curious about emotions when you get triggered. You feel those emotions, locate it, make them going, because they will disappear eventually. Simply be with your emotions, do not distract yourself.
Hey there, I'm Diane Forster, host of I Have Today, where we talk about the art of intentional living. Our show is on the Fresh Takes channel on Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific. So if you're ready to be inspired, empowered, and educated and learn how to live the I Have Today way, then tune in. Hope to see you there.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters Office Hours. We have Dr. John O'Brien, the author of the book Rudeness Rehab, joining us all the way from the States.
Yeah.
And we are really, really pleased to have you here. The book has just won the Firebird Book Award, the judge's pick. It is a fabulous book, not just exploring the concept of rudeness, but also what can be done about it, because it seems to be eating into our culture. So, Dr. John, what actually brought you to focusing on rudeness?
Well, it started with this interest in the impact of stress in the workplace. When I was 15, my dad had a major heart attack at the age of 49, and he was never able to work again after that and died very young. So that's really what motivated my pursuit of the field of psychology, is to try to help other people avoid, and other families avoid, that stress. So that's, and I've been working now in the mental health field as a psychologist for almost 30 years. But I started when I was 6. That's why I still look so very young. Maybe not with the gray beard. Anyway, but so I've been working for many years helping people manage their stress and deal with symptoms. And then I heard Dr. Christine Porath speak in 2017 about this topic of incivility, and really a light bulb went off for me. And then that led to that interest. And then we hit the pandemic. And at a time when I thought, certainly in the United States, people would come together, they actually just seemed to become further divided by the rudeness. And then as that started to wane, I thought that, okay, now that the COVID-19 pandemic is waning, certainly we'll treat each other better, but it only seems like the incivility has escalated.
That's really interesting, because I think there is sort of anecdotal discussion on whether we got a bit used to being rude and now we just are rude because no one really corrected us during the pandemic. Sort of relating to that and something you said earlier, there is an impact of rudeness on our health, our mental health, our physical health even. What is that impact that you've recognised, and how is rudeness sort of, when we are rude and when others are rude to us, how are they related?
So if we are in episodes of rudeness and incivility, and whether it's that we are being rude or we are having rude behavior towards us, or even if we are witnessing rude behavior in others, even that can have a negative impact on us. And so in terms of stress levels, that it can contribute to problems such as depression and anxiety, other mental health symptoms. It certainly leads to conflicts interpersonally, both in work environments, which can have very negative impacts on people's career and their position in an organization, and conflicts with colleagues, which ultimately damages the business. Obviously, it also can lead to conflicts on the home environment. That's why I write also about the home space in the book, because it can lead to unnecessary conflicts in families and even divorce as well.
Yes, that is what I like about the book. It does cover different spaces. You discuss civility and incivility when it comes to politics, when it comes to medical conversations even, businesses and the home environment. I mean, this is a bit of a $50 million question, or maybe it's even a silly question. Do you think we need it more in one space compared to the others?
Well, ever since kindergarten, I've always liked to color outside the lines. So I want to say we need it everywhere. But I think if I had to pick, I would sort of pick two things. That first of all, I think it's, most important in our personal relationships.
Yes.
Because, those are the people most often that we, are with, throughout our families and throughout our lives. And so really paying attention to how our unintentional, or maybe sometimes intentional, rude behavior can be contributing to problems there. But I think the other environment that I've been reading about, research about most recently, is in the medical environment. And, years ago, my mom was going to go for foot surgery. And the doctor that was going to do the surgery said that she was 80 at the time and had a heart condition. And the short version is he said that a nurse to visit her in the day, she was going to be discharged same day from surgery at 80 with a cardiac problem. And he said, her insurance doesn't cover a nurse. And I knew that wasn't true. Anyway, gathered information and finally sent that to him the day before the surgery through his office staff. And when he came in that morning to do the surgery, he went over to my mother's bedside and started screaming at my sister and pointing in her face and saying, "So apparently you don't trust the information I'm giving. Maybe you don't trust me to do the surgery," and stormed out.
Oh my word.
And the end of the story is the surgery went well, and the surgeon after the surgery said, "Sorry about what happened earlier, but sometimes I go pop." Well, their new literature says that surgeons who treat their staff poorly actually end up contributing to more medical complications for the patient, and even there's a higher risk of mortality.
Wow.
So I think healthcare environments, it's particularly important, and they are paying attention now to that research and trying to change that dynamic.
Absolutely, because there's the whole body of research onto moral distress and moral injury all stems from this whole thing of, well, what is the impact of someone being burnt out or someone being stressed? And I think that is a really important area because you're dealing with people's lives.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I didn't know that it was so impactful. That's incredible.
It's huge.
To hear, yeah. Might be a bit controversial, this question, but are you ever rude yourself?
Cheeky.
I wanted to answer that by saying, well, that's a stupid question.
Yeah, stupid, honestly.
Of course, I'm kidding. No, absolutely. That's the point of the book, right? Is, some people who are, kind of mindfulness gurus, for example, will write about the fact that they're unflappable, that they're never overtaken by any negative emotion. And that may be their experience. But when I read those things, I think I can't connect to that person because I just feel like, I'm human and I'm going to have all, psychologists are human too. That's our message today. Of course, I really have tried to bring more attention because if you're going to be the, incivility guy, you need to be on your toes.
Yes.
But the same thing, things just sometimes slip out when you're stressed or when you're not thinking. And the sooner you can be aware of it and try to rephrase it, the better.
That's again self-awareness, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
So important.
Yeah.
And it is okay. We are human. And we get
exactly.
it.
That's what I was going to say. We're all human. Yeah, it wouldn't be natural if you weren't occasionally rude. I think we all are sometimes. Well, I don't know about you. I'm not speaking
No.
for you, but I have been when I'm stressed, which is what you said.
And I think sometimes being too kind of unflappable winds other people up even more, actually.
I've been told that's the case.
By someone who was really rude.
It was really rude to me, yes. So I suppose everybody has the ability to be rude. So given that, we all are sometimes, what are your top tips for having civilized conversations with people?
Well, you were highlighting this just a moment ago, that this really begins with self-awareness. And I think it's sometimes easy to see problematic behavior in other people, but we have to start with ourselves. And, in graduate school, my doctoral advisor, whenever I came to her with a problem, complaining about some other faculty member or fellow student, she would just sit and wait. And once I finished, she would say, okay, and what part of this is about you? I'd be like, what do you mean it's nothing about me? But but we always have to look at, is there something we're doing non-verbally or verbally that might be contributing to the other person being so reactive? So that's really the first thing. Second, it's the kind of opposite of how is this, with the other person's behavior, not about you? Meaning that what is going on for this person in their lives at the moment? Are they bringing stress from something else into this moment? And do you really need to confront them about their behavior? Because maybe they're having an off moment or a bad day. And so we always have to think about it. Is it really necessary to confront the person about their behavior? We probably will have a chance to talk about this, but I'll just say there's a lot of power to breathing, using breathing to ground and center ourselves, as well as skills around active listening and being open to feedback. And finally, sort of finding some model of assertiveness that works for you, that can help you organize your thinking when you have to have a difficult conversation with someone.
I think this is actually a really good time to talk about your BAM model, which is about the breathing. Do you mind explaining that a little bit more? Because I think that will also help us. It will help our viewers as well when it comes to managing our emotions.
Of course, yeah. So this goes, the reason I came up with this acronym, it's not necessarily in the book, but it's sort of about the material from the book, is because as much as we can all be skilled and have ideas about what to do in difficult situations, when we get into a stressful situation and our bodies are becoming more activated, we are less capable of remembering what to do, because our emotions, our brains are more reactive, and the more emotional we are, the less able we are to access our memory banks. So having some sort of acronym that we can remember, like, okay, when this happens, when we are dealing with rudeness, think BAM. Breathing, active listening, and mindfulness. So first, obviously, is the power of breath and using abdominal breathing. There's also some work by Andrew Huberman. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's something called the stacked physiological sigh, or the physiological sigh, which uses a certain breathing technique to help people rapidly kind of ground themselves. Okay. So there's breathing, active listening, which, as we know, is rather than simply someone says something and rather than responding from our own experience, we use strategies to reflect back to them what they've said.
Yeah.
And when someone has been rude, if we use active listening skills to say something like, how so? Or what do you mean? Or say more, that gets people to think about what they've just said. And sometimes if people, have a chance to reflect on what they've just said, they'll rephrase things in, a less rude or a more direct, reasonable way. But it also, even if they double down on rudeness, doing that gives you a chance to think about, how you're going to respond. It gives you a few extra seconds. So breathing, active listening, and finally, mindfulness. Mindfulness and using skills of self-awareness. And there's a skill I talk about in the book, which we can also talk about if we have time, but it's called the 4-step mindfulness, which people can use to kind of ground themselves. And it's a strategy to think about self-awareness and how to respond effectively.
I hope we have time.
I'm
going to make a note of that. We're going to go to a break now, but we'll be back just after this.
Navigating today's workplace is tough.
Toxic employees, endless drama, a lack of motivation. We've all been there.
But fear not, we are here to help. My name is Leanne and I'm a chartered psychologist.
My name is Al and I'm a business owner. And together we dig into the scientific and commercial secrets behind great workplace cultures in truth, lies and work.
A no-nonsense, award-winning psychology podcast brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network. We explore practical strategies for building a great workplace.
We debunk buzzwords and bring you the very best advice around finding and keeping great people. From personality tests.
Personality tests they're mostly bollocks. I don't know what kind of language you do on your podcast. I don't know if people know this, but the man who wrote the Wonder Woman comics is the person who invented the disc.
When more flexible working became a norm, you no longer hurt your career prospects by being the one person who worked flexibly.
All the way to avoiding high turnover.
We recruit and promote people to managerial roles based on their technical skills, not their people skills. This is a very fundamental problem we have, which we haven't directly tackled.
From toxic-free cultures,
Interventions for the individual are only half the answer. Systemic change is the other half.
to sustainable growth.
Thinking beyond just paying somebody a good salary, I think is super necessary now. We have to offer so much more than that.
We have got you covered.
So join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays where we help you to simplify the science of work and build amazing workplace cultures.
A world without the arts is one without confidence, creativity and community, and yet funding has been reduced every year. Arts programmes have been shown to benefit social inclusion and well-being, particularly for marginalised groups, with projects fostering a sense of belonging, cultivating mutual understanding and breaking down social barriers and isolation. Participation in arts programmes can help boost confidence and open doors to opportunities that may otherwise be inaccessible. Click Arts Foundation offers grants up to £2,000 for grassroots arts projects twice a year, with our community arts experience trustees meticulously scoring each project on impact and sustainability. To date, we have supported craft and visual arts projects, dance, drumming for well-being, and preservation of heritage and culture. If you share our passion, not just for maintaining the arts themselves, but contributing to the many benefits it can bring, please consider making a donation to Click Arts Foundation registered charity.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters, Office Hours, where we're having a really great conversation with John O'Brien, who's the author of Rudeness Rehab. We're talking about civility and incivility, but there is so much value in treating each other well. So what would you say the benefits are of civility?
Well, I do want to just mention one interesting factoid that I think is we're talking about the invisibility of incivility.
Okay.
If you go into Amazon and you search incivility, it autocorrects to invisibility. Which I think is
interesting.
a great metaphor
Yes.
for how this is so insidious that we're not even aware of this. But that's just an interesting fact that I wanted to throw in.
It is interesting.
I love
yeah.
how you do it.
So that treating people, each other better, has direct benefits for our physical health. So obviously we have less stress. It leads to better cardiac health. Our immune systems function better. Our sleep is better. We have a greater likelihood of longevity, not just living longer, but living better longer.
Yeah.
And in fact, when we treat each other better, when we're focused on being grateful for things, that actually also helps to contribute to pain reduction in our bodies with kind of the natural opiate system. So there's all those benefits physically and emotionally. When we treat each other better, we have more emotional stability. We often feel better about ourselves because we're not caught up in regrets of what we just did to others.
True.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, we have greater empathy and compassion. We're more emotionally resilient. We have better moods. So there's a lot of benefits to our physical and emotional health.
It's interesting because they always say stress is really bad for you, but it's not until we hear the benefits of not being stressed that you realise why stress is so bad for you. That's really important to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. So on that then, do you have any exercises that we could practice for being more tolerant and so that we're not rude to others?
So I think of two that I would just highlight. One is something we were just talking about, which is the 4-step mindfulness. So let's just get straight to that. 4 steps: stop, breathe, reflect, and choose. When you are faced with an episode of rudeness or hear something coming out of your mouth that you didn't mean, stop. Find the power of breath, of just taking a moment to breathe. Then reflect, which is, okay, either what did I just do or what's happened? How do I want to respond? But how can I instead respond more skillfully? What are the things I want to do differently in this moment? And then finally choose about how we can be different. Now, obviously, it's not like if you're in an interaction with someone, you can't say, hang on a minute, stop, breathe, reflect. But the more that you become accustomed to using this, then the faster that you can use it. And if it's something in an email,
of course,
or on social media, or a text message, or a conversation you want to continue that sort of stop someplace, that's where something like this can really be beneficial to help you think through. So that's the 4-step mindfulness. The other thing is there's a model of assertiveness that I like very much that comes out of dialectical behavior therapy, which is the Dear Man strategies. The DEAR acronym: describe, express, assert, reinforce. Your viewers can certainly sort of Google to get some more information about that. But it gives people an outline for how to be very clear and direct in their communications.
Yes, I think DBT is absolutely wonderful. Dialectic behaviour therapy was originally there because of borderline personality, which I know they don't call it borderline anymore, but one of the symptoms of borderline is that you really struggle managing your emotions, and so a lot of those techniques are there to manage the emotion in the moment. Okay. So really nice support there. And I just love the 4-stage mindfulness. It's so straightforward.
It's very clear.
Yeah. Now, what we don't want to do is necessarily confuse civility with biting our tongue, stiff upper lip, kind of not saying it, being inauthentic, masking, because that causes even more problems.
Yes.
And as I said before, I think it winds me up when I see people just going, oh, never mind. And it's kind of, well, you do mind. I know you mind. So how do we differentiate between being rude and being honest?
Well, I think it comes down to language.
Yeah, true.
Language as well as nonverbal behavior. That because we can say something that in of itself, the language isn't necessarily rude. But if we say it in a certain tone or with certain nonverbals, it can be, the message is one of rudeness.
Yes.
So there's a saying that comes out of the recovery movement, I believe: say what you mean what you say, don't say it mean.
Oh, nice. I've never heard the last bit.
No, that's really good.
I really like that. And it's just to think about, okay, the language that you're using to communicate something, as well as the tone and the body language. Just thinking about, you can be civil, but you don't have to be a doormat. And you can communicate anger in situations without actually being your anger. Quite frequently now, if I get frustrated with issues with customer service, or when I'm calling some organization for the 12th time to resolve some issue, I will say, I'm really angry in this moment. I'm not angry at you, but I'm angry at this situation, and I really want your help to resolve it, because this is so you can be communicating your anger, but without just being it. And that's, I think, a really important thing to consider.
That's hugely important, and sort of relating to the point about the other signals that we give off. I mean, all the way through, when we were listening to your first experience, which is in your book, I mean, literally my jaw was on the ground.
Yes.
We hear so many instances of bullying in the workplace, bad behavior in the workplace, and even though we want to kind of just be, okay, let's go on to the next question, I can't hide it in my face when I'm hearing or watching something that's just so outrageously out of order. How do we manage that aspect, the non-verbal cues, whilst we're trying to remain civil to some degree?
Well, I think it goes back to sort of skills of what we psychologists call self-regulation skills, or skills to kind of manage ourselves. And so, yes, of course, you sometimes just can't help it. That your face reacts, your body reacts to something
bigger and bigger.
But it's then it depends. I mean, obviously, if we are interacting with someone and they're saying something directly to us and our body's reacting, then sometimes they may notice that, and they may either directly ask us about it, or I mean, sometimes actually saying, "Wow, okay, can we just stop for a moment?"
Nice.
Using skills of active listening to say, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what you meant. Something that without accusing someone or reacting rudely to them, it's to bring the situation to the communication that they've just made.
Yeah.
But I think going back to the skills of breathing, especially, that's one I highlight for people all the time, because it's not like we're going to go somewhere and be like, oh shoot, I forgot my lungs. Like, they're always with us, right? And they're always available for us. But so often we are breathing in the upper part of our chest, shallow breathing, which actually then is contributing to our activation and anxiety.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
So helpful.
Always breathe.
Where can we find you, purchase your book, and learn more about your work?
Well, I have a website for the book, which is www.rudenessrehab.com. Can you guess where I got the name for the website? so at rudenessrehab.com, and the work I do around coaching, etc., people can find me at www.activatesuccess.org.
Brilliant.
Oh, Dr. John, it's been such a pleasure. We'll put all of those links in the show notes. We could talk with you all day. We must have you back on the show. It would be absolutely wonderful to talk more about this topic and really, really unpack more of those tools as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. It's really been a pleasure.
Let's head over to Business Boost. On the same topic of rudeness, this is the little thought process I think we can all go through before we say something, whether it's on social media, whether it's out loud, whether it's writing it down. These are the things we need to consider. The first thing is, does this need to be said? Does it actually need to be said? If it does, am I the right person to say it? Because that's also really important. Some things people might even just realize once they've done it or said it or whatever it is that it was wrong. They feel ashamed already. They don't want you to go and remind them. So that's the first, does it need to be said? Secondly, honestly, are you the right person? Are you the right person to do it? So does it need to be said? Am I the right person to say it? And then the final one, which is really important, is how is what I'm going to say going to impact on that person? And not only on that person, but anyone else who hears it. Be mindful of the impact of everything we say and do. That's why we have the prefrontal cortex. It does remind us that we have got consequences to our actions. I've added a later point as well to this, and the question that I always ask myself is, well, if it needs to be said and I'm the right person to say it and it's going to impact in this particular way, would I be grateful if I heard it myself? And sometimes, actually, yes, I would. Other times I might think, well, maybe I'm glad someone mentioned it, but did you have to? So that's the further consideration. Does it need to be said? Am I the right one to say it? How's it going to impact the person who hears it or anyone else who hears it? And lastly, would I be grateful?
We all face moments when someone is disrespectful or difficult to handle. In these stressful situations, how you respond makes all the difference. So what I want to try to talk about today is to stand up for yourself while still remaining compassionate. So the first thing you should do is know that silence is powerful. So hold silence for 10 seconds or more. This gives the other person space to realize the absurdity of their behavior. Often, they'll feel exposed. Then, ask a question. The person who asks the questions controls the conversation. So try something like, do you always talk to people this way? And let them listen to that. Let them realize that you're aware of what they're doing. This flips the focus back on them and disrupts their pattern. Two key things to remember. First, it's not about you. This behavior is a reflection of them, not you. Everyone is going through something. So stand up for yourself always, but also be compassionate. People have their own struggles. Let them be and respect their journey. I hope you never have to deal with a situation like this. But if you do, try this approach and let me know in the comments how it went.
Wow, what a show.
Oh, he was amazing.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
And such an important topic.
Yes.
Because it's that invisibility of incivility.
I know. And to hear about all the negative impacts on people being uncivil and rude, it's quite an eye-opener, actually.
I think when we get him back, because I really want to talk more, it's things like, when you get cross with, I find I get cross with rudeness on behalf of other people. So not even being rude to me.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need to be championing the whole world. And that's problematic as well, because we're hanging on to, it's not our fight. And yet we've instigated ourselves in there as well. I'm sure there must be a lot to discuss around that.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic, I'm sure. But yeah, no, that is a real thing, and I quite often will get involved in things that have nothing to do with me because I'm so indignant on behalf of somebody who's being treated really badly.
And then I know we've had Dr. Hayley Lewis on when we've raised that question, where she'll say, "Yeah, but do they really feel it?" So I think there is exactly as Dr. John says, we do have to take that step back and breathe for a minute and really reflect on what's actually happening in the situation. So so much to take away. What have you taken from today?
So much. I'm really glad that Dr. John kind of brought up the customer service and being on the phone, because that's the only time, and I have to admit that sometimes I have been rude on the phone, but that's the only scenario. So actually, the breathing thing, I'm hoping next time I'm on the phone to a company that's done something really annoying and don't care about it, and that's the thing that brings that out of me. I'll employ that, the kind of the breathing and the just stopping for a minute, and actually I love the way that he said, "I'm really angry," without sounding angry. That was like a bit of an epiphany for me. You don't have to be like rah about it.
That's often when I realise where my tone of voice is going, I will often say, I am really frustrated right now. I know it's not your fault, but you've got me on the phone now, so we're going to have to deal with this. I don't do it well because I'm still in the moment, but I do get that, and I think that is really important. If nothing else, it does release the pressure on the person you're speaking to, who it wasn't their fault you're in that situation. But...
No, absolutely. And I spend so much time saying, I know it isn't you personally, but I up until this point haven't been able to take the emotion out of it. So now I'm hoping that actually the next time I should be able to stay calm and still convey what I'm angry about or annoyed about.
And also what I liked, what he said was, in that situation where you can't hide it on your face, it is okay to just go, wow, let's stop there for a second.
Yeah. That was a really good one, because then it enables both parties to then take
process.
Stock. Yeah, and process.
Oh, so much to take from that. Just in terms of experiences of rude behaviour.
Not from me, to me.
I mean, is there anything that you will do differently, or?
Yeah, it would have been quite useful to have had this discussion 6 months ago, a year ago. I mean, I think I've learnt along the way anyway. We're talking about previous employers of mine, exceptionally rude. And I think I kind of learnt not to take it personally as that kind of went on. But I think I like the strategy of just kind of almost like holding up a mirror, just saying, okay, what did you mean by that? Can you explain that?
Yeah.
And I wish that I'd known to have done that with the rudeness that I've experienced, which has been quite excessive over the time.
Yes, yeah. And I think for me, it's that stopping and asking yourself, which bit is about me? Which bit of this complaining is about me? Which bit did I cause? Which bit is it me which is driving the being upset about it?
Yes.
And that's fascinating.
It is, because some of it might be just about them.
Yes, some of it might be about them, and some of it might be stuff that you can manage in yourself as well. So,
Yeah, that's true, actually. And I'm sure that probably, yes, I have contributed.
Self-reflection is just helpful, I think.
Yes.
And it just he hammered that home, because I know sometimes when I'm going on about something, if someone just stopped me and said, well, which bit of this is about you, I would suddenly go, oh my goodness, it was because I've been triggered by something else, or because that situation reminds me of whatever. So
interesting.
So much. Well, do read Rudeness Rehab. It is a great book. And from us all here, have a healthy week.